Happy Wednesday. How are you, everyone? I'm Julie Livingston of Want Leverage Communications, here for another edition of PR Patter, where I interview great people from throughout my marketing and public relations network. Today, I'm thrilled to have Helen Evans. She's founder of The Listening People, which is a brand marketing and communications consultancy based in the UK. Before starting her business, Helen spent 20 years at some of the world's leading professional services firms, including EY, Latham & Watkins, and Willis Towers Watson. Today, she works with business leaders on strategies and campaigns that bring purpose to life, deliver vision and strategy. Sorry, I'm having a little camera trouble. Amplify brand, increase employee engagement, and grow company reputation, relationships, and affect the bottom line. All of her work is founded on deep listening. So, Helen, welcome. It's great to have you here with me today. Thank you for jumping in. I know it's late there in the UK.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks so much for having me.
So, in the public relations and LinkedIn work that I do for my clients, I myself engage in what I call hyper listening. I think it's probably similar to what you do. And it's really like having this radar. And that's what publicists do. We have a type of radar. It's kind of like reading between the lines, kind of listening in a way that you're getting something beneath what people are actually saying. And that helps me to identify their key brand messages, how they should position themselves as thought leaders, how their company can promote their competitive advantage. And one of the things I'm always looking for, because I do a lot of my work on LinkedIn to improve executive presence, is I'm looking for the nuances of the language they use, how they actually speak, so that when I do my ghostwriting thing, that I can actually capture that authentic voice. So tell me a little bit about what you do and what you're talking about when you say deep listening.
Sure. So the Listening People is, we call it a brand marketing and communications consultancy agency hybrid. And when I co-founded it with my late business partner, one of the things that we had recognized about agencies was that they didn't always listen to their clients, and that important content got left on the cutting room floor in the name of creativity.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought about it was more that it was easier to not have to work with, what might be dull or not as sexy or engaging as some of the, shiny new things. But I thought it was important that really, a brand narrative, a value proposition, whatever communications it is, should tell the whole story. And as an agency or consultancy, it's our job to do the hard work to really understand how to work it into the story in a way that is engaging and meaningful.
So really to kind of cut through the speak that sometimes the clients have, they're kind of, the clients are very close to what they want to promote and what the messages that they think they want to promote. But that's why they bring us in, to really to do that critical thinking and that competitive research, right? To see how we can help them to stand up against their competitors.
That's exactly right. And I think, the way I like to think about it is, if you think about a company founder, they had to do a lot of work there to create the story that was going to be compelling to take out to market, to take to investors, to customers, etc. And so they get their script down, if you like, and then the company grows a little, things change a little, and they don't necessarily update the story that they're telling, which might have been quite aspirational. They might be doing things a bit differently. They might be adapting to how customers are receiving and experiencing them. So for us, going out and listening then to key stakeholders around their experience of that particular company and the employees' experience of that particular company, and then getting to the authentic story that is reflective of the experience that the stakeholders are having, but still has the founder's vision at its heart.
Right, because those perspectives can actually be quite different.
That's right. So the perspectives are different. And the other thing that we like to think about from a listening perspective is, we're all conditioned. We all put a filter on everything that comes in based on our own experiences, our own training, whatever profession that we're in. So I think listening, deep listening, when we're really listening for the meaning and not just to the words, we're taking off those filters and we're thinking about, what am I hearing? Because this is how I'm trained. What would I be hearing if I was in the shoes of my client or if I was in the shoes of my employee? And just really investigating a little bit more and getting to the full story.
So how difficult is it to have those conversations though with clients when what you're hearing, because I know that's tough, right? When you're hearing what they want to promote or what they want to say in terms of their brand identity and the brand value that they're delivering. And then what happens when it conflicts a bit with what employees or other stakeholders are saying?
Yeah, so I mean, and that's the beauty of listening exercises, particularly with the market, customers, and employees, in that you have the hard evidence. They're telling you their
You have the
experience.
facts.
Absolutely, and your brand, is what people say about you when you're not in the room. But when we do our clients, when we do listening exercises ahead of, a brand narrative or a value proposition or something like that, they are a little bit nervous about, what people are going to say about them. I guess,
Right. Will it match up?
or just, will I hear something I don't want to hear? Will somebody call my baby ugly? All of that sort of thing. But the truth is that for all the work that we've done, not one client has ever said, I wish you hadn't done that. So they've always, we've clients where we've done their listening exercises and they've printed them off and bound them and used them as onboarding tools for new employees, because what they heard back is reflective to a greater extent of the brand and the experience that they're giving. And what the listening does is really help fine tune the narrative to what, for instance, a client really values in and that's what can sometimes be out of alignment, that what the company thinks is adding value might not be the thing that's adding as much value as the
Something
client
else.
on something else. So really getting clarity around that sort of thing. Often our clients are just pumped with confidence after they do get the listening exercise, pumped that they are doing many of the right things. And then when they're hearing it back from their clients and we're recommending a value proposition or a brand narrative, or we're re-articulating their purpose, etc., they are confident because they know it's completely based on their business and their clients and employees' experience of that business. We're bringing clarity to the message that they know is resonating because they've heard it from their customers. And then that gives them great confidence to go out with an even louder voice and clearer message to the market.
You're absolutely right. And I really love the fact that you're able to provide this information to clients and that they're actually using it in employee onboarding, because I think a lot of companies sometimes forget that their employees are their most important brand ambassadors, that those people go out and they speak about where they work, what they do to friends, family, wherever they are. And they really, if they have the party line, it's so powerful.
That's exactly right. And we have a tagline of building brands from the inside out. So we predominantly work with B2B businesses and professional services. And in those people businesses, your people are your brand. So 70% of your brand is what your people are doing, what they're doing with their customers, what they're doing in their community, what they're doing with each other, and how they're treating each other, makes up the employer brand. And then 30% is, that brand amplified through brand marketing and comms. So, communicating and engaging your employees in the experience that you want to give to your clients so that they're clear on it and can actually execute on it is critically important.
So what are some of the roadblocks that could get in the way of listening?
So I think
Is
people
it like,
are,
is it a mindset thing?
yeah, I think it's a mindset thing that people are nervous about getting feedback. They are genuinely anxious that they might hear something that they don't want to hear, or they may feel we're just not at that point in our evolution to go and get the feedback or get the input, or I think we haven't done enough to help them understand. So there's no point in asking them for feedback yet on, our product or our brand or whatever it might be. I think that's probably the biggest barrier.
Right. And how do you help them break through those fears?
So I guess now that we've done so many, I think bringing case studies of where it
Right.
really has made a huge difference to organizations, and being able to point to crisp, clear messaging, crisp, clear campaigns, value propositions that are clear, that cut through, and being able to share some of those case studies. And the listening exercises that we do, for the most part, they're not big, huge beasts. We might just, for some of our female founders, for instance, we might go and interview maybe 8 to 12 of their clients and
That's great.
prospects. But you still, I think, in those interviews, a little of what you were saying is you get really rich language, and you can you dig in a little bit more to what's behind some of that language and the words that they're using, and that's what I think then really helps bring the authenticity to the story.
Yeah, it's capturing that voice, I think. I find that is really critical, and it's a big differentiator. What are some of the techniques that you use to do this kind of deep listening exercise?
Yeah, so we, all the sorts of research tools that you'd imagine, the desk research for the competitors and what's the trends that are going on in that particular market, and then interviews for sure. So, and again, it doesn't have to be a huge number. So we might typically between 8 and 12 interviews. They tend to be about 45 minutes long. We use a discussion guide. To shape it, but we allow to go deep on particular topics depending on what scene we want
So,
to go
I
down.
one thing that I'm curious about, Helen, is when you're actually doing the research part and speaking to people, or do they ever have any trepidation about sharing what they honestly think?
No, they don't, and
That's great.
we try and be always use positive language. And it's again with listening skills, making sure that we're asking unbiased questions, or we're not trying to lead the witness, as it were, and also giving them the space to answer, and not trying to put a interpretation on what they're saying. Just let them go. And in that discussion, I think people do warm up. We invite them to be authentic because we want the authentic story. So we want to hear warts and all. But people are, the other thing that's worth saying is where founders or business leaders have gone out and said, we're conducting this exercise. Here's why we're doing it. We really value your insights. For the most part, people say yes, and they give the 45 minutes. It is astonishing.
Wow. So it's
Yeah,
sort of like you're giving them an opportunity to be a part of this branding
yeah.
exercise and to really give input. And I think people do like to have their voices, like they like to know that they're being heard.
Exactly, and appreciate it. For the most part, they're hugely supportive of, whatever business it is that we're talking about. And then when we get the findings, we, try and find what needs improvement, where the gaps are, as well as all the things they're doing well. So we are mindful that, we've got somebody's confidence in our hands, and we report it back in such a way that's helpful and value add, that they're not going to end up dwelling on the one little negative thing that came out, but we're also not going to sugarcoat. But it
Right.
is, doing that respectfully, and the getting to the insightful actions, and recommendations. So we're not just saying, here it is, but
Right.
here it
Right.
is, and here's what you ought
Here's
to do
why.
now.
So,
Yeah.
like, maybe you could share with us some like a before and after. I'd love to know, like, you know, when you're working with a brand company, where were they when you started, and what happened after you did this exercise? Like, how revelatory was it, and how did they put the findings into action to really fine tune their brand positioning?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about one client at the minute. She runs a gender equality consultancy. She came to us as she was getting ready to scale her business, was getting ready to invest in marketing. So she really wanted to test whether she had the right value proposition and how that value proposition compared to her competitor set. So we undertook the listening exercise. We also did a scan of the market and the trends in that particular area. Conducted our interviews, did a very detailed report. We also looked at each of the competitors. What the exercise did tell us was who she thought was her competitors weren't just her competitors.
Wow.
That it was a bigger playing field, but also it was very big brands that were her competitors. So it helped her see her
Right,
own business.
because everybody is there. Most big companies now,
Yeah.
most companies now are addressing the gender identity issue and how they handle it and
Yeah.
handle it well.
Yeah, exactly. So, better understanding the landscape that she was operating in, hearing, really fine tuning the value proposition, really thinking about what to dial up and what to dial down. And then when she had that listening report, she felt that we had such a good understanding of her business that she really wanted to see what we could do for her next. And by her own admission, she would say she'd been out and spent money on marketing, that it just, yeah, they hadn't understood, so it hadn't turned out to be a good investment. But with our understanding, we then went on to create her brand narrative, the purpose, her why, who, what, how, the value proposition. We then did redeveloped the website. And I think with a clear value proposition and the purpose, I think she got even more confident in her own voice. So her following on
Wow. So it
LinkedIn,
really helped her to sell her services more
yeah,
effectively.
yeah, the engagement went really up. Then we went on to do the marketing strategy and are activating or actioning that on an ongoing basis. But I think it is getting the difference was getting the clarity around what the value proposition was, how it sits with competitors, and how it lands with clients, just unlocked, and
Right.
helped her
Wow.
also think about where to focus her marketing efforts.
Wow.
um, Another client, she probably had gotten herself in a muddle with so many different products and things. So again, we did a listening exercise that did lead to doing the brand story again, but also led to doing the customer journey and the personas of the people that she was after. And then we took her products and put them in the context of the listening exercise, and just again brought a whole load of clarity.
So it
uh,
helped her to kind of focus instead of being everything to everyone.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so what that as well as it just being clearer and sharper, one of the big benefits that she's seen was it kind of cut away people that she shouldn't even be talking to, that were
That's
kind of
great.
more
So
time wasters.
what are some of the things, Helen, that start to bubble up for organizations that um, may be having difficulty identifying their brand proposition, their brand value?
um
What are
I
some of the things that happen for them that sort of signals, uh-oh, we
I
don't have
think
this right?
Yeah, I think it is that the message isn't clear enough and customers don't understand the value that they bring, or, what they're offering, that, where they might have a customer for or a client for one particular area of the business. They don't understand all the other offering, and wouldn't think of them in that respect. That they are spending money with various different marketing agencies and they're not getting the results. And one of the things that I would say there is, I think the foundation of any marketing activity, whether you're going to somebody for SEO, social, your website, whatever it is having a clear, confident story that, that really matches the organization and the experience that you want your customers and employees to have. Because I think if you don't have that story clear, then it's impossible to have a good website, or it's impossible to have, you're just throwing seeds into the wind,
Yeah.
with your social, etc. So I think that's it. The big thing is their story is no longer clear, and they need to take a step back and, get it crisp again.
And right. And your story can change over time.
Of
Right.
course.
So you might start seeing your social media following, kind of your social media engagement kind of stagnate. Maybe a competitor is starting to capture some more market share. So things around you that are affecting your business start to happen. And then it might be time to kind of reevaluate.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly that.
great. Helen, thank you so much for being here today. This is a wonderful conversation on branding. And everyone, if you would love to talk to Helen, she's Helen at thelisteningpeople.com. And join me next week again for another edition of PR Patter.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.